Howdy folks, welcome to the bar. Little John's, Friday afternoon, and it's time for a tasting on the red IPA. This is the rebrewed version of what was originally called the Who Needs Tenants. A bit of a reference to the Modus former Tenants red IPA. Which is been one of my favourite reds for a while. So when it was part of the focus behind getting this beer done. So got two versions here because what's Little John's about a split batch or a second version. So what we got is the revised recipe of split. First half here, which is coming off the keg, has been fermented with the new house blend, the 05 NEPA mix, which has been a video recently about. So this was the first beer that was brewed from the slurry of that mix. I used 90 ml of the slurry, which was 3 days old, which gave me plenty of numbers. And that's how she's finished up. Don't know how long. Colour's probably not going to show up fantastic here, but it's brilliant. It's a nice deep red. It's not super dark, and that was part of the what I wanted to do with this recipe with the revision. I wanted to pull basically the whole beer back from where it was originally. This half here, which is spewing a little bit of foam and highly fizzed, it's just half. The only difference is I've fermented this with Verdant IPA, and part of the reason for this is one, I left it. I actually forgot. I was sitting down to do the video, getting organised, going through, looking at the numbers and taking just a few notes on the recipe sheet that I wanted to comment on, and I remembered, hang on, I split this batch into so this fella got dragged out and put into the freezer, and I think it may have just cracked a little bit of ice on it, but I think the main thing is that the ferment didn't finish quite as low as I was expecting. I think there may have just been a little bit of continued fermentation in the bottle, which is really bizarre for Verdant. It's such a, well, it's known as being such a clean and thorough fermenter, and ferments hard and fast. This one, I haven't got the notes here on the paper, but I did note that it didn't really tick along any faster than the 05 and the NEPA ferment did, although it did look to be much more vigorous, much bigger crowds and much more activity in the actual brew itself during the ferment, but it didn't really drop numbers any faster, and both ended up at the same point. But before we get into those sort of things, let's have a quick look at the grain bill. Alright, we'll start with 3.7 kilos of Pilsner malt, in this case it's Gladfield. We'll also be using 1.6 kilo of pale malt, which will be Voyager Schooner. And I'm using up just a mix of I've got a bag of Vienna Pils and Pale, which is evenly mixed. There's 300 grams of that, so it's 100 grams of each. It's pretty insignificant. It's just throwing it in to get rid of it more than anything else. Then we've got 900 grams of Munich, 240 grams of Munich 2, 15 grams of Carafa 2, and 90 grams of roast barley. So that's the malt bill. I've toned it down a little bit from the last batch, trying to just pull the maltiness back a little bit and get the colour, pull the colour down a little bit too. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, so like the idea was to pull this whole beer down. The original beer was a big beer. It was very malty and rich. Had a lot of hop going on. It took it quite a while to settle down and to develop into a really nice place. Beautiful beer once it had settled, but it took a while a little while to get there. So I wanted to pull it back a bit. So the malts came down. The base fairly similar to where it was. It was really the Munich where it's come down, and then the specialties, the Cara Munich, the roasted barley and the Cara Pils, which all, well, not Cara Pils, the Carafa too, which all came down a little bit, which contributed to the lighter colour. And for me, this is certainly more in the range of the colour I was looking for. Recipe saying 32 EBC, and it's possibly a little bit darker than that. We ended up 4 points over on the gravity, originally looking for 1054. We finished at 1058, and that was simply because I just didn't adjust the efficiency on the brew farber. I'd had the efficiency down on the initial change back to the nano system, and after that, after the first batch the first batch or two on it, and realised I had to bring it up, but I forgot to, I hadn't changed the settings. So when I've gone in, it's just automatically giving me 64.5 brew house, which is actually finished, and it's actually finished about 71. And that's sort of more where I'm sitting with that setup now, around that 70, that standard sort of 70 mark. So we got 4 points extra gravity to start with. So instead of finishing at 1012, it finished at 1016. Both finished at 1016. I was pretty happy that they were done. So it's possible this one had just a little bit extra to go, but she's settling all right. Take the head off that just a little bit. Now I'm not too super concerned about that, because this isn't the target brew. It was just, I had it here. Let's split it, see how it goes. I haven't been a fan of the Verdant up until this date, so, but it's come up quite a bit lighter in colour. Actually getting there, it's not a lot different. I'm getting a bit of weird mixed light. I'm not getting a light coming through from here. The light's on this side, so it's not coming from straight in front of me. So yeah, when you get them together, they're fairly close, which really what it should be. So I've had a few of these. This was bottled, and it's not going to tell me on here. April 2nd, been notes to tell me it was kegged and bottled, so that's only, no, close enough, nearly 4 weeks. It's the 28th today, so 26 days, 3.5, nearly pushing towards 4 weeks. So as I said, last time it took 3 months really for it to get to the point where it was really drinkable. You can see there that she's a lovely, beautiful, dense, thick head. Carbonation's bloody lovely. And it's just drinking. It's drinking really nice. The hops are still standing up quite a bit, despite being really pulled down. The body, the malt was spot on. I think that's very close to really what I wanted to get. We mashed at 65 degrees. For an hour, which was the same as the previous batch. Actually, mash was completely the same. Alright, most of the way through the mash, got about 10 minutes of mash out to go before we'll sparge. Had a bit of fun getting the temperature right with the new circulating system. I expect there'll be a few teething problems, so it's going to take a little bit more thinking about how to actually get it right. But as for now, essentially mash has gone through at 65-66 degrees for 60 minutes. It's been raised up to 72 for mash out. I'll sparge through. So mash in was 30 litres, and I've held 9 litres back. I ended up adding 2 litres of water, or about 2 litres, 1.5 to 2 litres early on, because I forgot to actually bring the temperature up to mashing temp. I just watered the mash temp at 65 because that's where the actual temp controller was still set at that from obviously the last time it was being used. So I just went with that, so that's what I want. And just totally forgot, with all the muck around and getting everything put together this morning and whatnot. Forgot to bring it up closer to 70 degrees to mash in. There you go, that's the end of the mash out now, so that's ready to sparge. So as a result, the temperature dropped down to about into the 61s. So in the process of getting it back up, and I was still playing around getting the circulation right and whatnot, the mash temp actually came up to about 71 degrees. Now, I dumped a litre and a half, 2 litres of cold water in there fairly quickly to get it back down to about 66. Then like I said, adjusted the circulation arm and the flow to get the temperature better. Now it's still been swinging over about a 3 degree range, so mash has been swinging between sort of 64 and 66, mid 66s. So it's not been holding as tightly as I'd like, but that's, like I said, that's just something I'm just going to work with on the system and work out the best way of getting temperature. It would appear that taking it directly to the mash is not going to work on this setup. I was concerned that it wouldn't, so I have to play with that. That's no biggie. I'm pretty confident we were alright. I took a refract reading halfway through the mash. We were at 1053. Target actual pre-boil gravity is 1040, is 1046. So I've got to add about another 8 litres to get sparge up to volume. So I'm pretty confident we're going to be close to that. So I'm going to go and do the sparge. So I've just taken the new cables off, just checking how this looks, and it's looking very clean, which is what we'd be hoping for, coming off a full recirculation, so that's pretty good. So we'll get that coming off. I don't want that going too fast because I don't want to get a stuck sparge. Looking good. So I've got me leftover water here. And just try and gently add that on top without stirring it up too much. Water's looking nice and clear. Good. That's what we want. 72 degree mash out for 20 minutes with an 80 degree sparge. So I hadn't changed that because there was nothing to change. The malt, the body, it's pretty well really where I wanted it, so I was happy with that mash profile. I did drop the minerals by about 25% over the board from the original recipe. So it left the sulfide chloride ratio pretty much exactly the same. It went from 1.7 to 1.6. Mash pH was pretty much the same. 5.34 on the first batch, 5.44 on the second. So yeah, no problem. They're exactly where you'd want it to, yeah, where you want it to be. I said the grain itself was pretty much exactly the same, just was really just changing the actual amounts. I will put a link to the recipe down the bottom, so you can have a look at that. I'm not going to release the recipe itself onto Brewfather just yet, as I said, I'm still not completely happy with the hops. And I pulled them back quite considerably. Original recipe was 54 IBU. This version is 25. So yeah, a big reduction, and that came mainly from the hop stand. I dropped the original hop stand, which was a total of 17 IBU. It dropped back to 5. So, and the boil hops, the initial bittering hop only dropped a little bit. It was 9.6, it was probably about 11 in the original brew. But the late edition, the 5-minute edition, was originally 22, it dropped to 11. And then some dry hopping, which was reduced. The overall amount of dry hop was reduced, and the amounts, like I said, the amounts actually reduced, and it was a larger volume because the original batch was 17 litres. This batch was 23, so it's still got a very big hop presence for 25 IBU. Yeah, that's pale ale territory. It's even slipping into bloody, yeah. I do lagers which aren't much different to that, but yeah, it's not the bitterness, it's the flavour, it's the amount that's there in that hop stand and the Whirlpool. And like I said, they're not that they don't work, they're nice enough, but it's not really where I want it. They're pushing a little bit too much. Citra and Amarillo in the hop stand. I think overall probably just a little, maybe just a little bit too fruity. So I may need to just look at just changing exactly what they are. Mosaic, Citra, Amarillo in the dry hop as well. May need to just pull that back a little bit. But again, common theme, that Mosaic, perhaps it's it again. I've commented on a few brews lately. I've had a problem with the Mosaic, the wedding XPA, and yeah, so I'm actually wondering whether that is just purely the issue. So it could be worth trying to tether track without the Mosaic. Let's have a go here. So I said this is the Verdant IPA. Loud brew Verdant. Okay. Notice it's very similar. There's a slight difference there, but not really anything too discernible. She's nicely carved. This would have been bottled at, at pressure. There's no carbonation in the bottle. So straight off the fermenter at, I haven't got it noted. Been a little bit slack on the notes in the last 6 months or so, and not taking as many as I were, and that's probably since I started with the with Brewfather. I've actually stopped taking my detailed notes on paper, so they seem to be getting, I'm missing a few here and there, but it's all good. So yeah, Loud Brew Verdant, 1 pack dry. Okay, that's a reasonably different taste profile than the other half. Okay, the hops are much softer, just in the impression in the mouth. This is a little rounder. Yeah, it's rounder and softer. The malt's not as prominent as it is here. And where this is, clearly, an IPA sort of feel, with the bigger hop presence. This doesn't have it. It's gentler. It's milder. I'd almost sort of want to say it pulls it out of the IPA territory, in that IPA range, and pulls it more into just just a red ale. Which is not a bad thing. I mean, it's a tasty enough beer. Yeah, it's quite nice. It's quite drinkable. Nothing wrong with it. But yeah, it just hasn't got that impact of an IPA. So and I think this is where I've had issues with this yeast before. It seems to just tone everything down. When you're not looking, in this bit, you're not looking for it to be toned down. It's IPA, you're coming up, not coming, so. That's, it's got impact when you're drinking it. That doesn't have that same impact. And I think, and to a degree, it's probably a really good example of the difference between British and American IPAs. Softer, more rounded, not as punchy. That's bigger, bolder in your face. American yeast, British yeast. Same beer, two very different feels. Is one better than the other? As beers, I'd say, well, they're going to win fans either way. Some are going to prefer the softer, gentler approach. Some are going to want more, more oomph. But for this beer, and what I'm after, that is definitely more the place I want it to be. You can sort of drink this and not really think about what you're doing. And just sip away and keep going. It's not really asking you any questions. You get this fella. You know you're drinking something. Grabs your attention that little bit more. But anyway, overall, I said both yeasts have worked well. The beer's come up quite good. I think still needs a little bit of work on the hop profile and exactly how that hop has been delivered. But as it may not be the actual, it may just be the type of hop. Might just need a little bit of playing. The levels are quite alright. You couldn't have waited bloody 2 more minutes? No. Bloody anyway. I think the malt is just really is pretty much spot on. And I knew that in the first place, because like I said, I didn't change really. The percentages, the ratios are very similar. I just pulled back the ratio, about the total percentages of the darker specialty malts just a little bit, just to drop that colour out and the depth of the malt. To a degree, the original version was probably more of a double red IPA than a red IPA, than a single red IPA. This is more in that sort of realm. It's pulled it back more into, your run of the mill is probably not really the best description, but your standard red IPA that most breweries are pumping out. Yet the occasional bigger one like Mountain Culture Double Red, that was probably more the sort of place you're at, that bigger, deeper, richer version of the red IPA. But I'm happy with that. Yeah, as always, it could do with some playing around. Yeah, we're never really ever happy with a brew, but I'm drinking this one, no problem. The boys were over last weekend, had a few beers. Mullow's and Matty Ursak, they both liked it. Well, told me they did. Could have been lying to me, who knows. But like I said, it's only not even 4 weeks old. I would still imagine give it a little bit longer for the hops to really settle a little bit more. Another 2 weeks probably won't hurt it, but I'm not going to get through it in a big hurry. Keg fridge is full again as of 2 days ago, so I've got to it'll get plenty of time to settle down. As I said, changed the name. It was originally Who Needs Tenants. I changed it as I went. I'm now calling it the Midnight Flight. The Red Eye, the Red IPA, the Red Eye Flight. I've got an uncle who lives in Perth, and every time he travels, he always comes on the Midnight Flight, and then they call it the Red Eye. So, sort of seemed fitting. That's where it is. But anyway, guys, that's it. Midnight Flight, version 2 of the Who Needs Tenants Red IPA. 05 NEPA version, Verdant IPA version. Both drinking quite nicely. It's moving around, a little bit more in your face. Take it whichever way you want to. Comments and questions down the bottom, as always. Happy to have a chat about thoughts and ideas and things about this beer. Your own version, what you do for the red IPA, your favourite commercial variations, whatever it is. Thank you to Little John's patrons, all the people that support the channel, keep me going, allow me to be able to play around and do these sort of experiments and all the rest of it. Cheers guys, and thumbs up. Link down the bottom to Patreon. Have a look, might be your thing, check it out. Other than that, check out hit the subscribe button down there if you aren't subscribed. If you are subscribed, thank you very much. But either way, the like button down in the corner, hit that, give me the thumbs up. So guys, as always, thanks for watching. So until I see you again, be brewing beer, drinking beer or talking beer, good brewing.